Hey, Zach, how are you, buddy? Welcome back to Face.
I'm good. Good to be back with you, Dale.
Yeah, so top of mind, let's get right at it. I do want to acknowledge great call on the pullback in the miners to about the 28 level, 27 level before the next rally. That was a nice wave and a great entry area that you called last time, Zach.
Thanks. Yeah, well, we can definitely get to the miners. They're looking for a little bit more consolidation here in that move off of March. Let me actually I'll just jump over to that chart now.
Okay, you want to share the screen? You have to
Yeah,
click the
working on
Zoom
that.
button. Okay, buddy.
Um,
How's the world treating you?
Thank God.
Okay.
Thank God. Everything is very good.
Oh,
Had great Passover and good trip out to Las Vegas for the money show. And
oh,
although
yeah.
very good to be back. I'm not a smoker. If you're not a smoker, like have problems with old
Oh,
cigarette smoke, some of the Vegas hotels are a little bit tough to be in for any period of time.
yeah.
So let's go to a larger view. I think this, nope, I have to find which,
So
oh
you're
yeah, that
looking
was the
for
right one.
maybe pull back to 2930 to be what
Yeah, I
would you
think
label that?
30, 31 even would be perfectly sufficient. You get some moving average support, middle
Yeah.
Bollinger Band. That's the high end of the normal fib zone for that smaller degree. But we're looking at this as a larger primary wave three, but in a diagonal. So that means instead of the three wave getting a regular five moves, it gets an ABC, which I think you guys see that kind of bouncing around and rattling around within a trend channel a lot in a lot of the forex charts that you
Currencies.
guys look
Yeah.
at. And one of the things that Garrett and I have really noticed, and it doesn't really look like it's going to be the case because we do have a solid five waves up, but we are counting the move off of the September or whatever 2022 lows because gold and silver made slightly different lows there, but as a larger diagonal. So I'm open to this kind of morphing, even though this looks like five waves up for the wave one. I'm open to this third being an ABC move and maybe a little bit more muted. And then maybe it gets that kind of blow off top fifth wave that stretches up into the 60s and towards the 70s later on down the road. But in the shorter term, would really like to see a little bit more consolidation in that wave two inside the third off the March low that started.
Okay.
So that's
So
looking
this should
at
be the
the
money wave. Maybe we get from this low, we get some kind of fib extension of the wave from 26 to 37.
Yeah, this from that 31 region, plus or minus about $1, is the ideal. We should head up into the 46, maybe
Okay.
even stretching. If it's a pure impulse, then
Yeah.
that could even stretch closer to 48, 49 for
Yeah.
just the third of the third. So that's going to
Right.
be the heart of the move that should have the strongest technicals
Right.
and the most volume, and really all of the small miners, should really be lighting it up. If they're not, then that brings us into maybe this is that A wave, which should still be pretty strong, but maybe this is an ABC for a larger version of that A, and it's going to come up like that and be a little bit more choppy. So if that's going to be the distinction between this being a pure impulse, which is what we would like to see, and having an early indication that we maybe need to look for more attempts at some consolidation. So we'll have some pretty clear levels along the way as we start off of that 31 level that need to hold, and what we should see as far as those waypoints inside
What
that
would
move.
negate the bull case?
I think anywhere starting to get under 28 is
Okay.
a little bit concerning.
All
Um,
right.
when you zoom out here, as deep as this was, where it counts much better as the wave two. I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember when we were on here before, I kind of wanted, my ideal was, I said, we could count five waves up for wave one, but I would
Right.
love to hold the 29 region and try
Right.
for a fifth wave up or a better fifth wave up and then get the wave two. So technically, in some things, this counts better as a fourth, and this is the fifth of wave one. So that's one, two, three, four, five waves up for this wave one off of the September or October low, whichever individual stock made that low. And so that allows for a little bit more of an ABC retrace back down to the 27 region. But based on the structure that we have off of the April high, we should at least get a pretty decent bounce from this 31 level. So even if it's going to fill out a bigger retrace, if we start slicing through fib support and break under the 30 and 29 level on this next move down, that's a little bit more concerning.
Okay, thank you. Always great to have the line in the sand that changes the count, right?
Absolutely.
Gives you your alternate.
So I was mentioning on gold that we're counting that move off of the 2020 low as a larger diagonal. So that really just means, the wave, all the subwaves, it's still a 5-wave move. It's still a larger primary degree wave 5 heading substantially higher towards the 2500 region. But this first move off of the low counts much better as an ABC. Then we have our wave 2. Then we have 5 waves up that is really past the level that is reliable to be wave 1 of a third, but perfect is in terms of an A wave in the third of a diagonal. So same consolidation that we're looking for, just instead of it being the 1-2 start to the third, in gold futures, it looks like the A, B start to the third of that diagonal. So I'd like to see that fade back down into the 1930s.
That's the breakout level. There was a long-term downtrend line. That's going to be important to hold. Under 1920 kind of negates the breakout.
Agree.
And would open the door for maybe even 1800.
Right. I mean, and right? That's, I think it's a little bit too large at this point. I mean, usually when you get so close to the prior top, that's too big to be wave 1 of a fifth. That would be a really, really, because also that would be 5 waves up for the wave 5. And so a really extended fifth, which I wouldn't complain about, but it would be a little bit less reliable than holding. So, if you're going to break under the 1930s, then, again, there's some support at 1900. But as you said, that opens the door maybe for a retest of the 1770 region of support, and how it gets down there. If it were going to fail to hold, this region, that's going to be a big warning. Really, the nice thing when you're looking at things, at the smaller timeframes as well as those larger ones, we have a very clear pattern here that's pointing to that support region.
Right.
If it gets there in a different way, or it's slicing through that support without getting at least a bigger bounce first before coming down to the 1900 region, then that is a very good warning sign.
So let the market tell you when you get to these important fib levels, what the reaction is. Do you get a 3-wave bounce off of that, or 5? And sometimes can't just the velocity of the move give you a good clue?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we know what the character of different waves in different parts of the pattern should look like. And so, as we were talking about on GDX, if you're expecting the third of a third, which should be the heart of the move, and the technicals aren't supporting it, then you need to start to consider, what else that might be, and be very, very much, you can't be too impatient, because sometimes things take a little bit longer to build up, but you need to at least be very, very acutely aware of those key support levels that need to hold for it to maintain that immediate bullish potential that you're seeing.
Okay.
So we looked at before. Go ahead.
Well, 3 months ago, Zach, you also made a very nice forecast. You said that the S&P would trade up towards 4,300, and be careful because people start getting pretty bullish. So if the Fed gives what the market wants, maybe we could squeeze it there. Same count. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that changed, when I was on back in January, we were looking at this as a 1-2 start to a C wave off the December low. And we got the nice third, but then we didn't hold this support here in early February to get a good 5th wave up. Now, I say that, but some things like XLK and SMH did hold as a 4th wave here and got a 5th wave up.
Yeah, the semis have rolled over already.
So, I mean,
right?
I could still see some extension. Nvidia might be trying to extend a little bit and pull the rest of them up, but
It's
they're all
diverging like crazy. Nvidia
exactly.
has Nvidia has chlamydia.
And that's actually what Garrett and I spoke about at the Money Show. We were doing a whole thing on sector rotation,
Okay.
and showing how a lot of those things that we were pounding the table on that had great setups off of the December low for strong strength into the start of the year really look like they've completed this B wave already. And if they get any nominal higher extension, it's just extra bonus, overtime round, and that the market seems pretty close to a top as well. I think we needed to move this B wave over as an expanded running flat for the S&P. The NASDAQ we can look at in a minute counts a little bit different. Should really try for one more high to really tag that 4260 to 4300 level in the S&P. A measured move is actually all the way up at 4470, and the 4465 levels, the 764. I don't see the subwave pattern off of either low, whether off of December or off of the March low, as having a high probability of getting all the way up there. I think getting to 4260 would be ideal if we can hold yesterday's low at 440.86. Really looks good as an A B inside that fifth.
Right.
It doesn't really have to be a diagonal, but I think the ES counts a little bit better as three waves up here. So can get this as a big A, little B, and tiny little C wave for that. So just looking for an ABC because it seems to make the most sense. But certainly in distribution mode and not very
Yeah,
clearly
I'm
bullish
I'm
longer
trying to
term for the
think
rest
of
of the year.
what group could carry it because even the oils look bad, the semis look bad, the banks look bad.
Well,
Uh,
we're only
cat and
looking
deer.
for one more low in the energy names, and we think that can get a nice swing up. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the market is going to do anything similar, because these moved up against the grain before. So
Yeah,
we don't really
that's still
worry
pretty
about.
far down there from where we are, where you want to buy it.
Yeah, but we are in the heart of
67.
earnings season, and so there are a lot of these individual names that could get bigger drops
Uh-huh.
on as kind of fluke drops on earnings, but the rest of the it doesn't really
Wow.
drag on the market so much. But yeah, I would love to see just under the 70 region, maybe down to 66s for XLE and a lot of those component names. XOP is very similar,
Where do you think
but it,
WTI will be for us to get there?
so I track the crude oil futures,
Right.
CL,
Okay.
and not WTI.
That's fine.
Um, those look like that has some more room to the downside, even down towards 55.
Okay.
Certainly, any move. This is a key resistance level now. This 8360. So any move over that, really have to be wary that this was all, even though there's no clear completed pattern that I can count for this to be a significant bottom. Maybe this is just a muted ABC for that parentheses Y wave, and it didn't get the full extension of the move. But if it's going to hold March and break over the April high, then don't stand in the way.
Okay.
But you're asking where potential strength may come from, and so Garrett and I really like XLU.
Utilities.
Yeah,
Is that
as
because
it
the bonds look good and the 10-year looks like it could go to 3%?
I don't really do the why so much.
Okay.
I stay away, I
All
just look
right.
at the charts. But that's
Okay.
it's a good possibility as far as why. We were looking at a studying some graphs of sector rotation. And one of the things that we do notice is that while on big downdrafts in the market, so if we do start that C wave down,
Yeah.
it's going to suck everything in eventually. But stuff like XLU and XLP have often been able to hold out just a little bit longer at the top. So XLU is one of the things that we identified back in October is still being able to make a actual higher high from what it did in 2022 and 2021. And that's still the case as long as it's going to hold that March low. I mean, for anything that we're anywhere remotely bullish on, that March low is pretty crucial. So if that breaks, all bets are off, and buckle up, because we're probably heading down a lot. But XLP is also pretty similar. That can be looking up. If we're heading higher to a new high, it really needs to get some more of a consolidation, unless this is just a very, very
What is
muted
it?
move.
What is XLP?
XLP is the staples, consumer staples.
Staple. All right. So these are both defensive areas.
Right. So we had a really good opportunity for this to turn down, and we were bearish a couple of these names, and they got a little bit of a move off of that ideal resistance, and then stopped out. So there was a really good risk reward setup for some immediate downside, and the fact that it invalidated that potential for immediate downside opens up the door to some more bullish extension. I personally certainly like XLU more.
Better.
Yeah, but for a similar path higher, I think it's a cleaner setup with this 1-2 start to that C wave. But I have my nasty little red triangles, pretty much saying, be careful, because this is not only is it the end of a fifth wave up, but it's a primary degree fifth wave also, and potentially completing that cycle degree C wave.
Do you have a view on Apple?
Yeah,
Zach?
my chart's a little bit messy because
that's okay. I spilled coffee on.
I think Apple really counts best as this ABC expanded flat off of the June 2022 low. So that was a low that we really wanted to see hold in a lot of things to actually get a higher high. It does not look like Apple's going to be getting that primary fifth wave off of that high, which is why I made that gray. And instead looking at this as an A, B, C for this B wave. But we're into some pretty key resistance here as a 764 retrace and the measured move compared to this A wave off the low. So not a typical structure that I think, and I've chatted about this with my subscribers.
What does this imply? A test of the B where your cursor is down there?
Or even lower. I mean, the measured move wouldn't, because it's already at a 764 retrace and we made a lower low, the measured move would probably only come down to maybe the 120 region if it was only going to get a measured move. But it does imply that either of these could have been a more significant top, and we can just start to plummet from there in the larger cycle degree or even a super cycle degree correction. I think Microsoft is a little bit cleaner.
It's stronger, but you think that earnings spike might have been it?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it was one of the leaders in terms of like what the XLK did and other technologies, and now it's just getting a little bit further extension. Same B wave here, it's at a 7.8.6 retrace, but it more clearly counts as this cycle degree third wave top and the AB structure inside that cycle wave 4. So looking for a move down over the coming months to year or more. As soon as it starts to roll over and give us some indication of some impulsive action off of that high.
So that's interesting because, you're talking about the strongest groups, especially Apple. Everyone loves Apple. Even bears say Apple's a good company.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is a group, MAGA F.A.C.E, that's been really carrying the rally.
Right. I mean, XLK is just the tech sector, and it is 22% of it is Microsoft and 22% of it is Apple. And then it's also got some TSM and some NVIDIA and other stuff in there, and like the top 10, and not a lot of other major holdings of other things. So, when you talk about SMH already looks like it topped, XLK easily counts as a top. Maybe it tries to get a little bit of that same extension that Microsoft just did, but again, it's really on borrowed time. It filled out the exact, C wave up into the resistance that we wanted to see off of that January lows, and looks like an ABC bounce. So, maybe it tries to continue to meander higher, but the risk skew is certainly not favorable. So I'm
maybe we don't have 4,400 left in this market the way some of the leaders look.
Right.
Are you considering that that we may not fulfill that count in the SPX to
No, I
43,
mean,
44.
Garrett and I have already, talked about how the leaders could start to fade off, and be less leader-ish in the past.
Okay.
So we look at the QQEW and the RSP, which are the equal weight versions. And again, those had a really good opportunity to turn down impulsively. They did get 5 waves down, but when they could have stopped as 5 waves down and 3 waves up and tanked, they didn't tank and they got a little bit higher. So that didn't make a higher high yet, but this is only 3 waves down off of that. And so as long as that recent low holds, then there's a good chance that these try for higher in just a more convoluted, complex pattern for the same B wave. Instead of it being a simple ABC up to a 618, it's trying to get a little bit higher than that as maybe a WX and a Y. And that's a Y wave is just a C wave that gets a little bit extra that counts as its own ABC. So
okay. And what's this ETF consist of?
this is the equal weight of the QQQ.
Equal weight.
Right.
Okay.
So it flattens out, the overweighting of Microsoft and Apple and Amazon and all those guys. And so we look at RSP also, which is the equal weight of the SPY. And again, as long, there is some potential if the April 26th low breaks, as long as the March low holds, but for any possible extension higher, that's pretty key support.
Last week's low.
And this held a pretty divergent lower high compared to a lot of those other names. So, easily counts as that complete. But, when it had that opportunity to stop here and drop hard, it got a little bit extra and then it held corrective consolidation. So have to give some potential for extension, the benefit of the doubt, as long as that support's going to hold, but just being very mindful of the larger risk skew.
One of our attendees is asking for Amazon if you want to be
we
generous.
can look at that. I just wanted to pull up, another
emerging markets. Okay.
This one, also very clearly looks like a B wave top. If we're going to force that same purple potential for extension, I put it on the chart just to make some people on our site happy, but we have 5 waves down and 3 waves up to a 618 retrace here, and then a move off the high that isn't clearly corrective. So this is pretty key resistance right here, this 3930s in emerging markets. And certainly if it gets over 4016, then it can head higher in that same extension, maybe at least just trying to retest the 44s, but easily a start to some downside action there.
See, almost take you all the way back to the October lows. And that kind of gives me a clue that the dollar could wash one more time, but we're going to have a dollar rally, and that's why EEM might be under pressure. What do you think?
Right. I like the dollar for a little bit more of a bounce. This was kind of unsatisfying in terms of a full ABC up, but it did get nominally higher. You can count 5 waves in there, and it got nominally higher than the A wave. So we can count 5 waves down from this bounce that we were looking for. I said last time I was on with you, we had a pretty sharp move down in the dollar that looked like 5 waves. We wanted to see at least a corrective bounce up towards the 106 region. So we got that, and we have another 5 wave move down. So more of a wave 2 would be normal. I'd actually be fine moving this A wave over to here, and maybe it gets a B wave and a C wave down.
How about that being A, and the B wave takes out 1 for an irregular B, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I mean, if that's gonna, it's certainly a possibility. I think if that's gonna happen, you're not going to get much past the 103 level for the rest of the wave 2. But that's some pretty serious resistance there in the 103. If we get strongly over 103.60, then maybe this is at least heading to this wider flat here. Yeah.
All right. Well, Zach, gosh, you cover so much ground in 30 minutes, but it's probably not enough for people that are watching you and would like to keep tabs on what you and Garrett do and your whole crew. So If you want to show people or tell people
So
where to get a
yeah, we
hold.
have Stockwaves, and we also have a companion service to Stockwaves is the Metals, Miners, and Agriculture service, where we look at all of the precious metals, also some base metals and industrial miners, all the miners, including uranium guys, and a lot of soft commodities. And
Do you have a uranium miner you like? There aren't that many, are there?
There are a number that we follow pretty regularly. I think CCJ is a great one. I mean, we're very bullish long term, but we have 5 waves up off the 2020 low, and we do not have anywhere near what looks like a completed wave 2.
Okay.
So,
how about platinum? Do you guys cover any platinum miners? Are there any that you cover?
I think Impala is the only one that really comes to mind as a, and I don't even think they're much of a pure platinum play. I think it's kind of ancillary. It's to a lot of other precious metals miners. I don't know if many that are, I mean, if there might be a couple other micro caps that are focusing just on platinum. But I don't know of many other direct plays, but the platinum chart does look great. Room for some more consolidation into the 1050 to 990 level, but looking at it heading much higher longer term.
Yeah, and that it could narrow the spread between itself and gold.
Right.
I mean, when I was your age, it was trading at a premium, $1,000 premium.
You mentioned that.
Yeah, when I was just a young lad like you.
Right now, isn't palladium is not quite at a premium, and it's heading lower here. But that's going to be a good pickup in the 1200s. That looks like a nice completion of 5 waves down and a measured move C wave into support for this larger cycle wave 4. And since this is a diagonal, it could start off as a pretty choppy move. I have to go to a 2-day chart to get.
But look to where it could go.
Yeah. So that's going to probably be an ABC move, and we can set up for looking for some nice symmetry with the A and the B inside the 4th. So you can get an A and the B there. That might be cup and handle or an inverse head and shoulders or something that some of you guys might be looking for. But certainly off of this 1200 region is good risk reward for the start of a move up.
Okay, Zach. Excellent review. Once again, Laura's thanking you. People are thanking you for sharing, being generous with showing your counts and the structure you see. Thank you, my trading warrior brother. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to be on as always. Take care, Dale.
L'chaim, Zach.
L'chaim.
All right, so follow Zach on Twitter at Zach Mannes, and the website address one more time, Zach,
is Elliot with 2 T's, wavetrader.net. If you go to my Twitter, there's a link there to Stockwaves.
Okay, at Zach Mannes. People are thanking you. I thank you, Zach, and root for you. Have a great spring in the markets, and we'll talk this summer, bro.
Amen. Take care.
Okay, take it easy.
Bye-bye.
So that's a wrap, everyone. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and team is waiting for you in 13 minutes. Have a great day.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.